trying to think of a humorous segue, and I can't. So I got nothing, guys. All right, we're next up into the inducting into the 2014 Canadian Healthcare Market Hall of Fame will be John Helou, President of Pfizer Canada, and here to present to him will be Teresa Firestone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My congratulations to the mayor and to the other inductees. So we often say kind of what goes around comes around. So I have the pleasure of 4 years later introducing John. John had the reverse role with myself 4 years ago at this event. So it's a little hard to sum up a very impressive career in 3 minutes or less, but I know we're down to the last of the wire, so I will try to do my best here. So I met John about a dozen years ago when Pfizer acquired Agaron. John was, it's too high, I have to be taller, okay, sorry. John, at that point, was the general manager for Agaron, and I think after many years was finally convinced to move to Montreal, which, as many of you know, working in the industry is not the easiest thing to do, to get someone to move from Toronto to Montreal to join Pfizer. John did a lot of moves internally. He's had a lot of great opportunities. I think the other big move he made that I think was probably a real challenge, and not very many people do it, is move from the sales and marketing, the general management side of the business, to government affairs. And he made a tremendous contribution having made that transition, which, having gone the other way, I can tell you it's a lot tougher to move to government affairs. He has run the specialty business for Pfizer. And he's actually done a lot of other things for Pfizer. He's been a tremendous coach. He's done just so many things. But if you go back, and I understand in his early days, he had considered to be a teacher. But someone in his family fortunately talked him out of that, and he pursued an education in chemical engineering and ended up with pharma. Now, I think he probably wanted to go into teaching so he could have every summer off and play golf. But he says it's because he wanted to coach people. And it's something that he's done a tremendous job of. He is an amazing supporter for colleagues, for people working with him, but also people working alongside of him. As a peer of John's, I sat with him on the leadership team at Pfizer for many years, and John and I are probably the exact opposite. He's very patient, he's very deliberate, and in meetings where things are dragging on, as sometimes they do, John would always be the last person to speak. And when he did speak, it was always very measured, and he always got right to the point, and really cut right through all of the crap. And we could always rely on John in kind of bringing us back to basics. And one of the things he would always say, and I think he still says today, is what are we solving for? Kind of what's the problem? And, I always thought of that as sort of, kind of bringing us back and grounding us. And John's been terrific at that. John's made an enormous contribution. He sits on a lot of committees, boards. He's been a very big contributor. And just to name a few, he's on the executive of the board of directors for RxD. He is chair of their National Affairs Committee. In 3 weeks' time, he will become chair of the board for RxD. He's also an executive committee member and vice chair of Biotech Canada. He's a board member of Montreal In Vivo, a board member of Advanced Coronary Treatment Foundation, member of Council of Canadian Chief Executives, a member of the Dean's Advisory Board at U of T Faculty of Pharmacy, and a member of the campaign cabinet at University of Toronto Faculty of Pharmacy. A really long list, and frankly, I really don't understand how he does that and still runs the business. So he's either really good at juggling a lot of priorities, or he's doing the volunteer stuff full time and just enjoying Pfizer on the side. But seriously, he has made an enormous contribution to Pfizer Canada, as well as to the community, to a number of support groups, to a number of colleagues. And I know that what's also really important for John is his family, who's here with him today. So it's my great pleasure. Please join me in congratulating John.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Again, 4 years afterwards, déjà vu. It's a really humbling experience, like many have already said, and I also thought it was a letter sent by mistake when I first saw it. It's an honor and it's a privilege. It has been a privileged career in a lot of different ways. It's been a privileged career because of the people that have been around me to allow me to get to be to where I'm at today. My family, my lovely wife Sue's here, who has been my rock and has kept the ship steering in the right direction. My daughters, Kristen, who's here, and Michelle could not make it, who can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm just dad at home. And I can't believe, Dad, that you do what you do. And my father, who is also here with me today, who's not only my father, but is my best friend, who has guided me along this journey as well. So that's been a privilege from a family support perspective. It's also been a privilege to have worked with some incredibly brilliant people that make my head spin when I show up to work. These individuals, some of them are here as well, back at Pfizer in Montreal. They challenge to advance our business model in a very meaningful way. And it's been a privileged journey. It wasn't that long ago, back when I first started in the early 80s, that some guidelines for atrial fibrillation were being established with the anticoagulants. Today, a couple of years later, we've got non-oral anticoagulants that can be used in that area. It wasn't that long ago that HIV and AIDS was a death sentence. And just last year, at Vancouver General Hospital, the ward was closed down for HIV patients, was closed down because there was no need for it anymore. That is an incredible accomplishment. Dr. Julio Montana is being inducted in the Medical Hall of Fame later on this year as well. And just a couple of years ago, if you were diagnosed with lung cancer, it was a death sentence. It's still very difficult, but now at least you have a gene mutation that you could test for, and maybe you're one of the lucky ones. And it's unfortunate my mother hasn't lived long enough, passed away at the age of 57 with lung cancer. If she was here today, maybe she would have had that opportunity to be able to have that test and have that drug. It is a privileged existence we lead, and our industry makes a marked difference to the people that we help. I hope in my lifetime that we find cures for Alzheimer's disease. I hope in my lifetime we find cures for cancer. And I hope in my lifetime we have cures for multiple sclerosis as well. Thank you very much for this great honor. I am truly grateful. Thank you very much.